Hi there and welcome to what I'm calling the Rowing for Fitness series, because it's perfect for anybody, including those who've maybe had time off due to illness and injury, or maybe like work needs, or maybe you're slightly older and you need a longer warm-up in order to get you ready for the workout itself, or like my case, I'm doing these at 7, half 7 in the morning as a way to wake up my body ready for the day ahead. So it's really about fitness, wellness, longevity, vitality, whatever you want to call it, but I had to give it a name, all right? So today's workout, what we're going to do is a 9-minute warm-up, then a 10-minute main workout, then 2-minute cool down, and then some stretching at the end. So this is an all-in-one Swiss Army knife workout, okay? All of these are going to be that. The entire thing is going to be incorporated in it, so you don't have to look elsewhere for stretching videos and stuff. So we're going to get into that 9-minute warm-up, but before we can do that, we have to set up our machine. And there's two things I want you to look at. The first is your feet, where they sit in the foot stretchers. Because what I often see is people with their feet way too high. So the strap is covering, what would you call that? The bridge, the arch of your foot. And what that is going to do is going to reduce your flexibility as you get into the front of the machine, because you just literally can't get there. So you can't slide in far enough. And what you really want is your shins to be pointing in a vertical position. And if you can't get there, you're reducing the amount of movement you can get, and that'll give you less workout than you want. So what I suggest is that you lower your feet, you find a position where the straps will cover the balls of your feet, which is often the bottom horizontal lace of your shoe. And that will then give you that flexibility to get into a shins vertical position. So take a look at your feet, see where the strap covers them, see if you can get into that vertical position with your shins, and hopefully that's all good. Next up, let's go to the resistance on your machine. Now, no matter what you're using, if you're able to reduce the resistance, I want you to do that now. Take it all the way down to the bottom. So on the Averon, I've got it set to 1. If I was using my Concept 2 with the Averon app, I'd bring the lever all the way down to the bottom for this warm-up. When it comes to the main session, if you want to bump it up a couple of notches, please do. But as far as the warm-up's concerned, I want this to have as little resistance as possible for your body so that you can just think about opening up your body and getting things moving rather than having to fight some kind of weight of the machine. Right, crikey, the t-shirt says less talk and more rowing, and I'm obviously not listening to the t-shirt. So let's get started with our 9-minute warm-up. Now, we're not even going to touch the handle for this. All we're going to do is rock up and down the rail for 30 seconds. We'll do a couple of moves and then we'll pick up the handle. So if you're ready, let's get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So this is all I want you to do for 30 seconds. Is slide into the front, and then with a gentle press of your feet, because you don't have to go too hard, just send yourself to the back again. So this is really just helping your knees open up, a little bit of compression of your quads, and then if you can think about sitting with a little bit of a good posture on the seat at this stage, rather than rounding your lower back, it will also help in terms of position. But that's what we're going to work on next, because what I want you to do now is hold on to your seat and sit up basically against your hands. It's a hard one to describe, but by holding onto the seat, you can now sit up a little bit straight and you'll feel your lower back activate while you're doing this. Now, obviously, this isn't how you row bolt upright, but what I'm wanting you to do here is just to activate your back muscles while you're also sliding up and down. Now, next up, what we're going to do is we're going to move our hands away from the seat and then hold them out straight in front of us and just keep on moving. So, hands in front, and then this will slow right down, because what I don't want you to do is to kind of to recoil against your back. But I just want your arms out in front of you so you can then tilt in towards the front of the machine as you come forwards. Then you ease to the back, slow down as you get to the back, roll into the front again, and you're moving this way, just to kind of help that momentum. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be air rowing. So we're going to be doing this, but this time we're pulling at the back, okay? So it's as though you're rowing, but without the handle. So you get into the back, pull in, let your arms come away, roll forwards again. And you'll feel your shoulders are suddenly activating now from doing this. Everything's slowed down. You'll notice that your stroke rate is a lot slower than it was before, because well, I say stroke rate, well, we're not actually rowing, we're just moving. But you'll feel that everything's slowed down. But if you can think about the posture and your arms, then you're already close to rowing. And that's why next we're picking up the handle. So pick up the handle and let's just do some light rowing. Okay, so don't worry at all about any kind of force into the machine here. All I really want you to do is exactly what we were just doing air rowing, but now you're holding on to the handle and there's a slight tension against the machine. So you're leaning in towards the front of the machine as you come in, so you roll in, you tilt over your hips with that good posture, and then you push the legs into the machine. Shouldn't take much force because you're at minimum resistance, and then you pull in at the back of the machine. Just to get your body moving, that feeling of, like I say, the tension of the machine, feeling the power coming from your feet that then makes the machine move. And after this stroke, we're going to start to just increase intensity a little bit. So before, maybe it just felt like you were, if you were rowing through air before, maybe you were rowing through, I don't know, thick air, through a cloud, where it felt like you were putting in a bit more effort. Now, you'll be rowing through custard. Do you know what custard is? I'm trying to think of custard. Custard's a worldwide thing, isn't it? Crème anglaise, they call it in France. Do you have custard in America? I'm trying to think if I've ever been. I'm trying to think. Melted ice cream, let's say. Is that better? Or soup. Maybe I should have gone for soup. But you're just increasing the intensity a little bit. But the important thing here is that you're not working hard, okay? You see, I'm just rabbiting away the entire time, hardly out of breath, but I'm putting in an element of force into the machine, so I know I'm putting in some effort. And then for the next 50 seconds or so, if you want to go a little bit faster, please do. Just increase it so you start to feel a bit more intensity here. And what you're aiming for is to get to a point where you can start to feel that you're getting out of breath. And in terms of this warm-up, that's all I want you to do, is that you just feel like you're breathing a little bit heavier. You're not gasping for air. You should still be able to speak, but it should just feel that little bit more intense where you know you're exercising. Okay, and then in 5 seconds time, we're going to roll with just our arms and our body. Okay, so after this stroke, keep your legs straight, hands out in front of you, and then swing your back and pull in your arms. Release your arms and rock forwards. Swing, pull, release, rock. Okay? So you'll see here that I'm rocking first, so you take up the tension of the machine with a swing of your back first, and then you pull in your arms, arms out, rock forwards to get back into that position again, okay? And that's quite important when it comes to timing for rowing stroke anyway, but this back rock, the swing you do first, is a really good back and core workout that if you pull first, you completely miss out on. So you may be rowing because someone told you it's an all over body workout, and it's only an all over body workout if you swing your back and then pull in your arms. Let's do one more of these, and then we're going to do the missing part of this element. So we're going to roll into the front of the machine with our arms straight and that forwards rock, and just use your legs. Now don't push too hard here, because what I don't want you to do is to recoil backwards. I want you to think about holding that forwards tilt of your upper body and your arms straight the whole time. Again, this is why we're doing this on such a low resistance, is so you can keep your arms straight without feeling the need to pull against it, to fight against the machine. So you should just be able to come in and then push out with the legs and really feel that actually, look, my legs are putting in power. Okay, so this will hopefully help you with the concept that rowing is mostly about leg power, and then it's about back, and then it's about arms. And again, that's how you get the best workout when it comes to rowing. Right, the next one may be a bit tricky. What I want you to do is take one foot out, put it on the ground, and then just do some light rowing, full stroke rowing, but with just one foot still in the straps. Okay, and this is really going to help to open up your hips and get you into that position when it comes to the front of the stroke, and help you with that forwards tilt and how far you should be sliding forwards, which is until your shins are vertical. Swap your feet, only doing 30 seconds each of these. I'm trapped in my strap. Okay, and continue. Hopefully you were ahead of me there. I couldn't get my foot out. There's a technical fail for you. But the same thing, rowing with the other leg. Try and slide until your shin's vertical, push out, and then pull in at the back of the stroke. Okay, we'll do one more here. Put that foot back in the straps, and we're just going to finish off this warm-up back with that easy rowing, that pace that you felt you're starting to get out of breath, but it didn't feel like hard work. Okay, so this is like the absolute minimum pace that you'll ever really be asked to row in any of my workouts. And what I'll do is, once we've finished this 1 minute, I'll give you a little bit of space to have a drink and maybe stand up and wiggle your backside while I describe what it is that we're going to be doing in the main session. Remember, it's only 10 minutes long today, followed by a cool down and some stretching. So it shouldn't be too taxing for you in terms of the workout or putting up with my nonsense. Okay, so let's take one more stroke here. And like I say, have a quick drink, maybe have a little bit of a wiggle of your backside, release the pressure on your sit bones across your glutes and things, while I quickly describe what it is we're doing today. Okay then, so today's main session is going to be 10 minutes long, and it'll be made up of two different stroke rates, 20 strokes a minute and then 24 strokes a minute. And you should find when you go up to 24, you go a little bit faster. Now those 20 strokes a minute, well, we're going to start off at the intensity you were just rowing at in that warm-up, okay? Just slightly out of breath, and then I'll talk to you about what we're really aiming for as we get into it, because after all, I need to talk to you about something, all right? So, if you are ready and you've had your quick drink and your backside feels comfortable, we can get started with today's main session in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Right, so I want you just to hold the same intensity. Don't worry about how much power you're putting into the machine. Right now, I just want you to think about rowing at 20 strokes a minute, because maybe this isn't something that you've ever done before, trying to hold a certain stroke rate. So if you just follow me on screen, you drive when I drive, recover when I recover, that should mean, as long as I'm not messing anything up, that you're rowing at 20 strokes a minute. But you should also notice that I have a quick drive and a much slower recovery. So in fact, it's 1 second drive, 2 seconds recover. Now, of course, you can row at whatever stroke rate you want to. You don't have to listen to me, but by holding a stroke rate, aiming for something, what you're kind of doing is working towards consistency. And if you can be consistent with your stroke rate, you can be more consistent about the intensity that you're putting into the machine. And the longer these sessions last, the more that becomes important. That you know that when I say, let's take it easy, you're actually taking it easy, okay? Because if you're all over the place, 1 minute you're at 18 strokes a minute, the next time you're up at 26, you have no way of knowing what kind of intensity you're putting in. Whereas this right now should feel really easy, okay? This should feel like you could do it for a long, long time. And what I want you to do, and what we'll spend the next 2 minutes trying to find, is to hit a pace which is known as the comfortable steady state, okay? So, comfortable steady state is an intensity where you know that you're exercising, so it'll probably be a little bit faster than you were just rowing at. for the first 2 minutes of this session, let's call it. And now you are starting to get out of breath. And the best way well, there's two ways I explain this. One is that you're able to talk, but you'd have to have a conversation with someone in order to take a couple of breaths while they answered you. And as such, you wouldn't be able to sing because you wouldn't have the breath control because you're working too hard, okay? But that's all it is. We're not talking about you're unable to speak. The point is that you should be able to still have a proper conversation, okay? Heart rate will have gone up, but it's not going to be massively up. Remember, we're trying to take this nice and easy on session 1 of this workout, so we don't want to be working too hard, but we also want to make sure we're putting in some kind of work, because otherwise we're wasting our time here. And so the other way I describe it is like, you know when you walk upstairs, if you've gone up enough flights, you start to get out of breath and your legs start to feel it. It's kind of that intensity. You're maybe not looking for the burn in the legs, but in terms of the heart rate going up, you're looking for that, and the breathing rate too. Right, and in 3 strokes time, we're going to go up to 24 strokes a minute. Don't worry about intensity, just pay attention and see what happens. Okay, so here we go. Again, follow me. So it's 1 stroke every 2.5 seconds right now. Remembering that the drive phase is the faster phase here. And if you look at your pace, I'm hoping you've noticed an increase. We're only going to do 2 more strokes like this. 1 more. And let's return to those 20 strokes a minute. Nice and easy again. We'll do this for 2 minutes. Give yourself a chance to settle down. And hopefully, you'll have seen that you've now slowed down again, because we're back down to 20 strokes a minute. If it didn't change, then my guess, without seeing you of course, is that you're not actually pushing with the legs and letting your legs do the work before pulling your arms at the back of the stroke. Usually people who basically stick to similar paces no matter what stroke rate they're doing, it's because they're not letting their legs do the work. So really do try and think about that forwards tilt towards the front of the machine. Arms straight and push the legs. Remember again, we have been down at a nice easy resistance for this first workout. So like I said before, you shouldn't be fighting against your machine. When people set the resistance or the drag factor, whatever they have, too high, that's when they start to have to pull early and heave against the stroke. Whereas in this opening workout, being at a low resistance, you should be able to hold that forwards tilt, arms straight, and push with your legs. Okay, in 2 more strokes, we're going to do that 24 strokes a minute again. So really think about pushing with the legs. Here we go, push. And if you've got a machine like my Averon, or if you're using the Concept 2, as you increase your stroke rate and more power goes in, you should hear your machine accelerate, sound louder. And you want it to accelerate at the front as you push in the power. 1 more, and let's return back to 20 strokes a minute for 2 minutes again. Now what I'm hoping, and certainly what's happened with me, is that these little 30-second bursts that we're doing is giving you a little bit of an increase in intensity. So your heart rate bumps up a little bit, your breathing bumps up a little bit, or the rates of breathing, how hard you're breathing, I mean. But then, over the course of these 2 minutes, you get a chance for everything to settle back down again. So really, that's what I meant about this opening workout of the Rowing for Fitness series being about exploring how your body reacts when you're rowing, and also the importance of how it reacts to prescribed stroke rates. How you shouldn't really have been thinking about increasing intensity when you went up to 24 strokes a minute. Just the actual result of going a little bit faster, it should have felt a little bit harder. But as a result, you should have been going a little bit faster as well. And really throughout this whole series to come, this is what it's based on, is this constant steady state, or the comfortable steady state more like, and these little bursts of power, so you know your body and you give yourself a good workout. So in 2 strokes time, we're going to go back up to 24 for the last time. Here we go. So connect, push with the legs first. Make sure to maintain that forwards tilt if you can, if you have the flexibility to do so. Then swing, and then pull back into a finish only at the back of the stroke. Don't pull from the front, pull at the back. One more stroke. And let's ease back to 20 strokes a minute at that comfortable steady state. Just to kind of paddle home. Still keep that intensity where you know that you're exercising, but it doesn't feel too hard, because we're going to cool down next. So you don't have to go too slow yet. Let's take one more stroke just as we hit 10 minutes. So that's the main session done. Again, have a little bit of a wiggle of your backside. Have a quick drink, excuse me. And then we're going to row for 2 minutes, starting at the intensity you were just rowing at, and then gradually decreasing it, okay? So here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So, if you were rowing at 2:20 pace at the end of that workout, then that's where I want you to be for the first 30 seconds or so of this cool down, because the little break we had there would have let your heart rate come down a little bit, and these first 30 seconds are just letting your muscles calm down a little bit. One more stroke here, and then we can start to gradually ease off the pressure with our legs and start to go back to that lighter intensity. Now what I want you to continue thinking about, because we're just going to keep easing down over the course of the next minute and a bit, I want you to still think about arms straight and pushing with the legs. Okay, so if you can keep your body positions, body angles, your muscles all still firing in the same way, but just at a less intensity, then this will help them to cool down. Whereas if you suddenly start just kind of flopping around like a dying salmon on the machine, you're not really going to get that gradual wind down of your muscles that a cool down is intended to do. So I'm already 10 seconds slower than I was when I started this cool down, and I'll just back off a little bit more so I end up about 15 seconds slower. We've just got a couple of strokes to go. Let's just do one more as we come into a close. So it's an opening workout. I mean, to be fair, the warm-up was just almost as long as the main workout, but it's a very easy one to get into, and hopefully I've covered enough of the subjects that you now know what's going to come ahead. I will repeat some of this info, of course, as we kind of go through all the other workouts, but this is the most important one for really getting it home so you can learn everything that's meant to be happening with your body, all right? So let's get into some stretching. Now, these are the stretches that I do, okay? It's important that you stretch the way is best for your body. If any of these feel slightly uncomfortable for you, then please find a different way to stretch or kind of speak to someone and see about a better way for you, okay? I'm not you, so I don't know how the best way to stretch for you is. So I start off with hamstrings while still on the machine. So loosen your straps a tiny bit so you can flick your toes up against the strap. Not that much that the Velcro comes off. Okay, so I've got my toes flicked up against the straps, hands in the air, and then tilt forwards, okay? Now, as I tilt forwards there, I can feel my hamstrings and even my sciatic nerve in the back of my legs, getting a nice stretch out of them. If I was to have really, I'm not saying I've got the best lower back here, so I'm very much a work in progress myself. But if I was to really round my lower back here, I'd completely disengage that stretch into my hamstrings and it wouldn't work. Some people find that this is a stretch better done sitting on the ground. So maybe if this hasn't worked for you, the next time you come to do one of these workouts, when it comes to stretching, get off the machine, do it on the ground. Yeah, I find it works for me, and from a video point of view, it makes more sense. We'll move on to onto glutes next. Now, I'm going to I've taken one foot out, and I've put it in between the foot stretchers on this Averon. You find somewhere to be comfortable. Bring your other foot across your knee so that basically your ankle sits inside the crook of your knee, is that what it's called? The little divot in your leg straight. Bring that knee across your body, okay? And you'll already feel that your glute starts to stretch as you bring that knee across your body. So now I've got a straight line between my face, my knee, and my foot. I then hold on to the seat and rotate against, so I've anchored my glute down into the seat. I'm holding onto the seat and I can now rotate against it, all right? And then that's now stretching, and I can feel this kind of radiating stretch coming up from my glute, kind of helping everything kind of stretch off a little bit here. Make sure that the leg that is straight down doesn't start to feel uncomfortable. You're not kind of like bowing underneath because it's down, because it's quite easy to focus on this leg and forget about the other one. And I don't want you to injure yourself. Now we're going to move on to the other leg here, for which I apologize. I'm going to have to show you the back of my head. So legs straight, that foot comes over, the other one comes over. Hold it in place with that arm, hold on to the back of your seat or the back of your machine, wherever helps your anchor point, and then rotate round. It'll probably help if you've got good posture here and you kind of really think about rotating around, but I can really feel I've not been stretching for a long time, to be honest, because this left glute is saying, hello. This is something I used to do constantly at the end of all my workouts, but I kind of stopped. So one of the reasons I'm making this series is so that I can get back in the habit of stretching properly at the end of my workouts. Okay, so that is the glutes done. Now we're going to go to quads next. Now I'm going to do this as a standing up stretch. So I'm going to get off the machine. Hopefully my head isn't going to pop out at the top of the screen. If it does, my apologies, but yeah, I hadn't really thought this one through. Hold on to your monitor for support and then grab onto your foot and pull the heel up against your backside, okay? So this is why my head being off screen doesn't matter much here, because it's what my heel is doing to my backside that's most important here. And you should feel a good stretch across your quad. Again, this is one that, depending on your flexibility, you might not be able to do, so find a way that you can stretch your quads yourself, especially when it comes to stability. What I don't want to do is suddenly get an email from someone saying, I tried standing up to stretch my quads and I fell over, because yeah, that's not ideal. So let's swap legs. In fact, I'll turn around so you can see where I'm holding the heel against my backside. I promise I'm not just trying to show you my backside. But yeah, so you hold it, you add in a little bit of tension here, just enough that you know you can feel the stretch through your quads, not so much that it feels uncomfortable. And again, I'm holding onto the monitor here very lightly for support, because my balance is terrible. If I let go, I start to wobble all over the place. Ideally, you do this standing up without support or something, because that also helps build the stability muscles in your ankles, but this first time round I didn't really want to fall over in front of you, so I'll wait until workout 5 before I do that. Right, let's get back down. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether I'm going to, again, go off screen here, so I'll do it here. We're going to move on to hip flexors next. So what I want you to do is have one knee on the ground, and so you'll have like a 90-degree angle. I put my toes on the ground for this one. Some people have toes kind of pointing up. I tend to put them flat on the ground. And then your other foot in front of you, 90-degree angle again. And what you do is you send your body forwards. You're not leaning forwards. This is doing nothing. You send your body forwards. So what this does is it makes my front leg a much sharper angle and my back leg a much more open angle. And if you want to make this even better, put one arm up in the air as well. And that helps kind of have a little bit of a lean back here. And it'll really help stretch that hip flexor. You'll probably feel your quad stretching a little bit here as well. But if you get the angles right and you make sure send that body forwards, you should then localize it into your hip flexor. Let's swap legs here. Hopefully I'm still on screen enough for you. Sorry, I'll reframe this better next time around. So same thing, 90-degree angle at the back, 90-degree angle at the front. Send your body forwards, and you'll see the angles change. I'm already feeling a good stretch here into my hip flexor. Then as I lift my arm up and slightly behind me, I really feel that hip flexor open up here and get a fantastic stretch. Shouldn't, like your lead leg shouldn't really be doing anything here, okay? It should all be about that hip flexor, like feeling everything opening up and kind of easing off. Again, this is one that, depending on your flexibility, I want you to be careful of, but what you'll actually find is if you spend all day sitting down, your hip flexors really do need stretched a lot, okay? So let's move on to forearms next, because depending on, as much as I'm saying, please don't pull from the front, chances are you were, okay? And if you're pulling from the front, you can really get your forearms stretched. So we're gonna go back to church and we're gonna pray, okay? So put your hands in front of you and then push them together, okay? So you push them together. You'll probably feel your chest kind of go a little bit as you push. And then as you're pushing together, bring them down in front of you so you're more like now you're in a, I don't know, samurai, I don't know, don't ask me. But as you're pushing your hands together, right in front of you with basically your forearms are now lined up with each other. Would that be perpendicular? No, parallel to the floor. You should feel right in here gets a nice stretch. Your wrists will get a nice little stretch. Your fingers might even get a nice little stretch here too. But yeah, so that should, if ever you're doing anything and your forearms start to get a little bit sore, this is a great one to do, okay? So sometimes with the kids, I go to a climbing wall and my forearms are in agony. I spend most of my day walking around like this afterwards. So let's move on to shoulders next, because again, because that takes quite a lot of force to your shoulders, we'll stretch these. So put hands straight in front of you, okay, straight line, and then bring it across your body and then use your other arm to loop it so you can pull and add kind of force and send your arm across your body a little bit more. And if you look to the side as well, as long as your neck can take it, this can help the stretch. You can feel it across your shoulders. Again, you're not trying to pop your shoulder out of its socket at this point. You're just trying to kind of give it a nice little stretch. And then let's swap onto the other arm. Do the same thing, look in the opposite direction. Add a little bit of force and you should feel your shoulders and possibly your upper back as well here. Just get a stretch. Now, one stretch that some people find helps is kind of like an opposite of this, which I'm not going to do because I don't tend to do it that often. And that's where you you basically face a wall. Let me finish this one. You face a wall with your arm like that. So you're looking directly into a wall and then you turn against it. And that then opens out your chest. In fact, you can just do that, to be honest. Yeah, that kind of does exactly the same thing. You look to the side, bring that arm back. So arm out, look to the side, and that'll do your chest. But if you're holding onto a wall and you do this because of the force that you're putting against the wall, it really does kind of open up your chest more. Last one to do is me back down on the ground again, commenting about me whether I'll go out of screen or not. And we're just going to do a tiny little bit of yoga that you may know about, the cat-cow. So I always get these the wrong way around. So you want to, I think this is cow, all right? So you send your backside up in the air and you look up at the same time, and you are rounding your back to do so. So you're sending your chest forwards and your backside up in the air. And then the opposite of this is that you tuck your chin in and you kind of bring your hips forwards. And as far as your stomach muscles are concerned, it's almost like you're trying to put on a tight pair of jeans, okay? So you really do draw your stomach muscles in towards your back. That's the feeling you're looking for. And then go back into cow, look up, backside up, and then back to cat. Making sure to tuck that chin in. Stomach muscles are nicely drawn in. And then let's just do one more round of these. And then back. And hopefully that will have eased up your lower back. After all, your lower back does take a little bit of intensity, effort when you're rowing, so it's good to kind of ease off your lower back. And then throughout your days, just try and have a good posture when you're sitting and things as well. Try not to slump down. If you can think about sitting up how you would want to on the rowing machine, this is how I best describe the posture, is that if you were a kid at home and you're slouching at the dinner table and just eating away, and then your mum or dad shouted at you and told you to sit up straight, whoo, and then you sit up and say, yes, mummy, yes, daddy, I'll eat my vegetables, of course. Then this is the posture really you want to be rowing with, is that kind of nice primed up Sunday school posture, okay? Not kind of slumped. So if you can think throughout the day to kind of be somewhere in between. I don't want you to be, obviously if you're sitting upright like this all day, it could get quite tiring, but just to make sure and have a good posture, that will fill into your rowing as well. Okay, so that's our first workout done. Do let me know whether you enjoyed it, whether you have any feedback about this. This is a work in progress, so if you quickly leave me a comment, hopefully I'll be able to filter it in within the next couple of workouts time. And yeah, so this is going to progress. We're going to vary what the workouts are in terms of the intensities. We're going to vary in terms of the duration as well. And I'm going to talk less technique as we go through this, okay? Because really, there's only so many times I can kind of bark at you when it comes to technique. So I'm going to start to get a little bit more random, a bit more back to my row along roots in terms of just talking rubbish when we go through these workouts. Keep you company as we're going through a workout rather than just talking technique, and hopefully that will be a bit more enjoyable for you, all right? So thank you so much for joining me for this one. I look forward to seeing you in future I look forward to seeing you in future workouts, whether they are the rowing for seniors or any of the other workouts that I have up here. I hope you enjoy them if you do them. Until then, row well, be well. Bye-bye.